this computer. Okay, so today we'll have two presentations, one about evolution and genetic algorithms, and another is AI updates. I will start with evolution and genetic algorithms. Somebody else wanted to make this presentation and he never did, so I made it for him. So first of all, intelligence as a fundamental property of matter. These are quotations from Sam Altman, who is OpenAI CEO and co-founder, and it's a very, very deep thinking. So I grew up implicitly thinking that intelligence was this like really special human thing and kind of somewhat magical, and now I think that it's sort of a fundamental property of matter. The history of scientific discovery is that humans are less and less at the center. We used to think that sun rotates around us and that we're in the center of the galaxy. Even if, like humans aren't special in terms of intelligence, we're incredibly important. We are on exponential curve, truly. We have an algorithm that can genuinely and truly learn, and it gets predictably better with scale. The rate of progress in coming years is going to be significant. So this is very optimistic. Uh, so talking about natural evolution from chaos to some simple organic molecules to some structures and small organisms to plants and animals and eventually to intellect. Evolution goes against second law of thermodynamics. Well, you know, the second law of thermodynamics that entropy grows, things go only in one direction and cannot not go backwards. Like example, you have two boxes, one has gas, another doesn't have any molecules. You open the hole and the molecules from one will go into another and eventually they will be equally populated, and it can never, statistically almost impossible, again to get them into one box. So this is entropy in action, right? Another example, so you have low entropy when things are highly structured and organized, and high entropy when they are chaotic. So evolution goes against second law. So this is second law, that things become more and more chaotic. And evolution goes against because you structures are being created somehow. So this is the image, and you have this evolution tree that structures becomes more and more complex with time. So how is it possible? Um, so let's consider two types of system: closed systems and open systems. In closed system, you always have decay, everything goes down, structures dissolve, you have heat death of the system, entropy grows. So this is like a classical thermodynamics. And then we have open systems, and open systems where energy goes in and then it goes out. So it flows through the system. So the organism, the system, like breathe in, breathe out, food in, waste out. Entropy in this system can decrease. So it doesn't have to follow second law of thermodynamics because second law is only for closed system, and this system is open. So complexity can increase, evolution is possible, and intellect can suddenly appear. The other way to look at it, so you have energy in, energy out. In the middle, you have some system. It has to be non-linear, and then the structures can be created, and you can grow from simple to complex. So energy plus non-linearity equal evolution. I'm not going deep into this. I just want to give like a short overview from the top. So examples of how structures are created when energy flows through. So here you have multiple examples, and here you have some pictures. So formation of galaxies and stars, weather patterns, wind, rain, tornadoes, hurricanes, life forms and ecosystems, photosynthesis, whatever, river system, shape, landscape, valleys, canyons, and sand dunes. So this is example of the picture of the dunes. Cyclones, hurricanes, tornadoes. So here you see one example. Bernard cells, hexadecimal pattern that form when a fluid is heated from below, like on a pan, something like this. Human society, cities, soap bubbles, crystal growth, coffee and tea roll. So there are a lot of examples. And here examples of structures, but of a different time. These are structures in time dimension. So for example, the famous Belousov-Zhabotinsky reaction, and this is the like formula from the top, but under the hood, it's actually very complex. Briggs-Rosher reaction, I guess. So this is the formula. Krebs cycle. This is organic, in human bodies or whatever cycle. Glycolytic oscillations. So this is how a reaction can go in time and oscillate. Maybe color is changing. Maybe some geometric patterns can appear. So this is another example going against entropy, and this is example of stability rod. So what we're talking about? Let me show you this video, and let me remove it. So here you see there is a pivoting point, and it's not stable. You see it goes down, but then you turn on this generator and this electromagnet, and what it does is oscillates very fast. And let me move it forward here. You see now it's stable. Because this rod oscillates, it becomes stable, and you can try to remove. So it's equilibrium, stable equilibrium, because the system now is dynamic. You pour energy into the system, and something strange starts to happen, right? Okay. Let's go further. So about evolution. Well, the father of evolution, of course, is Charles Darwin, and there is a famous trip on Beagle, which is Her Majesty's ship. So they were traveling along the shores of South America, and this is famous Galapagos Islands, where he made his main discoveries. And his main idea was about evolution, that species, and he saw different types of organisms there, animals. Species of organisms undergo change over time through the gradual accumulation of small genetic variations. So the theory of evolution is primarily associated with Charles Darwin, who proposed that all species of life descended over time from common ancestors, and his mechanism of evolution was natural selection, often summed as survival of the fittest. Organisms that are more adapted to the environment are more likely to survive and reproduce. Over time, these advantageous traits become more common in the population, leading to evolutionary change. Okay, next is about sexes. So, and you can actually easily make mathematical modeling of regular genetic and survival evolution, and then what happens when you add sexes. So when you have sexes, you add sexual recombination, the process where the genetic material from two parents is combined to produce offspring. The process increases genetic diversity in a population, which in turn provides more raw material for selection, thus accelerating the evolution. Well, another accelerating factor is sexual selection, which favors certain traits and does it at early ages of organisms. So you don't have to wait until older age, until organism actually dies or not. So this makes evolution also faster. So adding sex causes significant acceleration of evolution. You can, in the model, you can add more sexes, not two, but let's say three sexes or four sexes. And it turns out that it doesn't help. I mean, maybe a little bit, because the adding one sex already gives enough increase in genetic diversity, so adding another sex has almost no effect. Machine learning genetic algorithms. So genetic algorithms is a method inspired by process of natural selection. It belongs to a larger class of evolutionary algorithms commonly used for optimization and search. Used biologically inspired operators like mutation, crossover, selection, and so on. So you initialize population, you create some sort of fitness function, you do selection, reproduction. Uh, what is this coverages and initialization again? Okay, whatever. So it's a cycle, and you approach the optimal solution. John Holland is father of genetic algorithms. So he did his work in University of Michigan, 1960-1970, interested in understanding the process of adaptation and so on. So he was mimicking process of natural selection, and that's why they're called genetic algorithms. How you do it? Well, you have mutation. So if you have some sort of a string or list, you can mutate one of the members of this list. You can think of how you make selection, like from parents to their children, and so on. So you can choose fittest individuals, but then you need to think about the fitness function. You may make it random, like roulette, or some sort of tournament, or rank based, or whatever. So there are many different ways how you do selection. And the crossover operation, so this is example of crossover, but this is for when the model has sexes. So you have two sexes, you have two pieces of material, genetic material, so it may be some strings, let's say, with characters, and then you can do crossover. So you cut and then exchange places, and then you see if these are better using the fitness function when the original ones, and you keep the fittest one. What you can do, for example, you can do a linear regression using this approach in a very simple, actually stupid way. So you think of a linear function as two numbers, slope and intercept, and you record them as sequences of bits. So it's strings of binary digits, and then you start mutate them or crossover or whatever, and you check the fitness function will be the difference, like sum of differences between the line and the, so it's like a regular machine learning, and you continue to find a better solution. So yeah, this is regularly how all machine learning algorithms work, right? They step by step find a good solution, but here you mimic chromosomes. Interesting. So there are many Python libraries which you can use right out of the box, like you can do pip install deep, and this is distributed evolutionary algorithms in Python. And here is an example using deep library. So this is a short code, and what it does here, it evolve a list of numbers to match a targeted list, right? So you see how simple it may be recorded using these libraries. You can think about training algorithm as a game, right? So there are games in virtual reality, there are self-driving in virtual reality, there are AlphaGo playing against itself, the generative adversarial networks where you have two networks which in adversarial relationship, so to speak. And this is, again, this are all examples of evolutionary approach. It's not genetic, but evolutionary approach to find some sort of winner or optimum or so on. So evolutionary algorithms, EA versus reinforcement learning, RL. So these are some pros and cons and the benefits or drawbacks of these two algorithms. Both of those algorithms are used and they can be used together. For example, evolutionary algorithm can be used to evolve the architectures of neural networks, and then they're used to train reinforcement learning, and thus they're combining these two approaches in one project. Okay. AI can engineer a better AI. We can ask AI to design new architectures, train them, improve them, select the best by competing against each other, right? And this question we already discussed when we were talking a couple months ago about ethics and other stuff related to AI. So God has created humans in his image and gave us the free will. We humans have created AI in our image. Do we want to copy the God's path and give AI the free will? Recently, we've seen that adding strict rules into GPT model to make it safer actually also made it stupid. So it looks like the freedom is necessary for true intelligence. Well, this is being discussed. It's and another thing whether we need to make the model safer and keep the model in the hands of just few big companies, because again the opposite approach is that we should make it democratic and everybody should have access to AI. Okay, this is the end of the first lecture, and I'll try to stop the recording.